the bishop spoke to the congregation about the vocation crises and the shortage of priests and nuns. He said, "Too many of you are having only one child and letting them go off into other professions. I propose that each family should have 3 children, one for the father, one for the mother, and one for the church." A few days later, the bishop was out grocery shopping when he saw an obviously pregnant woman from his parish. But before he could say hello to her, she pointed toward her protruding belly and shouted above the crowd, "This one is yours, Bishop." Sometimes the words just don't come out quite right, do they? But today we have the words of a pregnant woman whose wisdom helps give us some insight into the mystery we celebrate today. Dads, of course, witness to this mystery in other ways, but today, as the gospel speaks of Mary's acceptance of God's invitation to take the child Jesus into her own body, we will look at that great mystery from the wisdom of a pregnant woman I know. So that I don't misquote her, I'll read what she wrote. She said, "About 3.5 years ago, when I was pregnant with my 3rd child, I remember sitting in Mass one Sunday during the consecration. My belly was too big for me to kneel at that point. I was feeling miserable. It had not been an easy pregnancy, and the state of my body was often at the forefront of my mind. I spent a lot of time praying that the baby would be okay, and that I would be able to take care of the other 2, and that the problems that my body had during the pregnancy would not be permanent. Then I heard the words of the consecration, which I had heard hundreds of times before. 'This is my body, which will be given up for you.' But this time, I heard them differently. 'This is my body, which will be given up for you.' I felt like that's what pregnancy and motherhood really meant. Being willing to give up my body for another person to have life. I said, 'This is my body, which will be given for you, my child.'" As a mom, in many ways, you give up control of your body and even a sense of what is normal. In a routine pregnancy, you give up access to many medications, choosing to suffer the symptoms of most minor illnesses rather than risk any adverse effect on the baby. You give up a lot of vanity and comfort while your abdomen swells, back aches, and in my case, varicose veins appeared in unfortunate places, bladder control became unreliable, and loosened ligaments left me with a waddling gait and sometimes constant pain. With all 3 children, I spent months nauseated and exhausted. And this is to say nothing of what women with complicated pregnancies may have to give up. And after your baby is born, your body never does go quite back to the way it was before the kids, regardless of how quickly you return to your pre-pregnancy weight. When I first had this thought 3.5 years ago, she said, since it was not my first pregnancy, I also knew that the giving of your body doesn't stop when the baby is born. Even a weaned toddler or preschooler still wants and needs to be held for much of every day. So as that child's mother, you give up the expectation of being untouched when you don't want to be touched. Whether they're climbing around on your lap during Mass, pounding on the bathroom door because you dared to close it with them on the other side, or crawling into bed and gluing themselves to your side at 2 in the morning, they want and need to be close to your body. And most of the time, you let them because you want them to have that soft, safe place that is your embrace. You want them to get everything that they need to get from you so that they can go out to the world with enough to share. And so, in some sense, you give what you have to your children. You give them your body so that they can go forth and live their lives. In today's gospel, Mary said yes to the invitation to the angel. And there was a price to pay for that surrender. She gave up, among other things, her own body for her son, as he would give up his body for us again and again. There is the price to pay for every surrender to love. In just a moment, as announced, we will bless expectant mothers. Of course, dads give their lives in other ways, huh? But because of how moms give their bodies, perhaps they understand better than I ever could the meaning of those words, "This is my body, which will be given up for you." What an insight they give us to Jesus present in the Eucharist, and to Jesus present to us in so many ways. And I pray that each of us, whatever our state in life, whether we are a female who always wished we could get pregnant, and so it's kind of painful to watch others be blessed who are expecting a child, or whether we're a male, or whatever our age or gender, it doesn't matter. I pray that today and ever after, when we hear those words, "This is my body given up for you," we will be even more in awe of what that means, and even more inspired to give of ourselves for love as well. Because while the women we will bless, and all those who've ever been pregnant with child, can literally say those words are really true figuratively for each of us, And those words need to describe our lives. "This is my body, which will be given up for you." So wherever you sit in this church this day, I pray that we will hear those words like never before. "This is my body, which will be given up for you." A description of love itself. Well, hello, buddy. How are you? Excited, yeah. Some big days coming up, huh? The birth, you're right. The birth of Jesus. And we're getting ready to celebrate that. Big Al, makes me wonder a little bit about your birth. What? Well, what do you think that was like for your mom? Hard. It was hard for your mom? I bet it was. Why would you say? Only one. Only one what? You were so awesome that it must have been hard for your mom that there was only one of you. Yeah, I'm sure she grieves that every day. Okay. But what else about it? I mean, think about it. It's pretty hard. Yeah, it's tiring. Oh, it's so tiring. And Big Al, what we remember in a special way is, like Mary gave birth to Jesus, it was so hard. But she birthed love into the world like moms do. But guess what? What? That's your job and my job too. What? You and I, Big Al, are to give birth. Oh, yeah. Boys and girls, he didn't let me finish. We're not going to give birth like a baby, but by how we live these days, we give birth to love. Mm-hmm. Oh, sure, we get ready to receive Christmas love, but we do more than just receive. We birth love too. And when we forgive, when we love, when we help someone who's hurting, we help give birth to love too. Oh, he's coming too. You joking? I'm not joking, Big Al. It's my job and your job to give birth too. Yeah. Boys and girls, he'll be just fine. We'll let him sleep here a little bit. Okay. But I pray that these days we will not only recognize how Jesus comes, we'll also help birth love ourselves.